Bermuda Triangle survivor. This story was told to me by a man I met at a bar in Florida. He was older, maybe in his late 60s, and you could tell he'd been through some things. He said it happened when he was in his 20s. He and two of his buddies decided to sail from Miami to Bahamas. They weren't professionals, just young guys looking for an adventure. They'd heard all the stories about the Bermuda Triangle, but didn't take them seriously until it was too late. It started as a perfect day, clear skies, calm seas. But as they entered the triangle, everything changed. The weather turned in an instant. Dark clouds rolled in, and the sea became rough, almost like it was alive. Their instruments went haywire, compasses spinning out of the control, and the radios filled with static. Then, out of nowhere, a thick fog surrounded them. They couldn't see more than a few feet ahead, and the boat started to drift. That's when the strange things started happening. He said they saw lights in the fog, like glowing orbs floating just above the water. At first they thought it was another boat, but then they realized the lights were moving in patterns, almost like they were circling them. Then they heard the voices, soft at first, then louder, as if someone or something was out there in the fog, calling to them in a language they didn't understand. One by one, his friends started acting strange. They became distant, almost hypnotized, staring into the fog like they were seeing something no one else could. They started talking about walking into the water, saying they needed to join them. The man knew he had to get out of there, so he grabbed the wheel and tried to steer them away, but the fog seemed to follow them, and the lights kept getting closer. Suddenly, there was a flash of bright light, and everything went black. When he woke up, he was alone on the boat, drifting in calm waters under a clear sky. His friends were gone, and the fog had lifted. The Coast Guard found him 2 days later, but they never found any trace of his friends. To this day, he believes they were taken by something in the triangle, something not of this world. He never went back to the sea after that, and he warns anyone who listen to stay away from the Bermuda Triangle, because not everyone who goes in comes out. The Lampedusa migrant boat horror. This story is based on an incident that happened in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Lampedusa, Italy. In 2013, a boat carrying hundreds of migrants from Africa capsized in the early hours of the morning. More than 360 people died, and the survivors who were rescued told a terrifying tale that's haunted me ever since I heard it. One of the survivors, a young man named Ahmed, shared his experience. He said that after the boat started to sink, people were thrown into the dark, cold sea. There were screams, cries for help, and then, as the boat disappeared beneath the waves, something even worse began to happen. Ahmed swore that, as he was struggling to stay afloat, he felt something brush against his leg, something cold and slimy. At first, he thought it was just debris, but then he felt it again, stronger this time, like it was wrapping around his ankle. He panicked, kicking wildly, and managed to break free. But when he looked down into the water, he saw what looked like hands, pale, ghostly hands reaching up from the depths. He wasn't the only one. Other survivors said they saw the same thing. Those who didn't drown right away were pulled under by these ghostly hands, vanishing into the deep. Their screams abruptly cut off. Some claimed they saw faces in the water, twisted in agony, with hollow eyes that seemed to stare right into their souls. It was as if the spirits of those who had drowned in the Mediterranean over the years were reaching out, dragging the living down to join them. Rescue boats eventually arrived, but by then the sea had claimed most of the victims. Ahmed was one of the few who survived, but he said the experience changed him forever. Even now, he can't close his eyes without seeing those hands, those faces. He believes the sea is cursed, haunted by the restless souls of those who died seeking a better life, and that they will never find peace. He warns anyone who will listen, once you enter those waters, you are never truly safe.